Hey Lisa, I am working on your Polaris quilt and I want to take you along for the ride. So I'm working on the blocks right now. So guys, if you're not familiar with this, this is the Polaris quilt that I designed, and Lisa has pieced it with Tula Pink Zuma, and I get to have the extreme delight of long arming it. So there'll be at least 2 videos. The first one right now, I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing some ruler work in this block. Lisa and I toyed around with a couple of different ideas for quilting plans and ended up deciding that something super simple in the blocks and then doing a matching thread but some more kind of crazy quilting in the background would be the best way to really show off her gorgeous piecing, this gorgeous fabric, and just how fun these bold stars can be. So let's get quilting. Now I will admit, guys, it took me a couple of passes to figure out the best way to do everything I'm about to show you without breaking thread. So don't worry if it feels confusing. I'm going to start by outlining this section of the star with a nice stitch in the ditch. This is going to help give me some maximum puff. I normally work with cotton or wool batting. I'm actually working with a Hobbs 80/20. I love Hobbs, almost always use Hobbs. And I'm working with an 80/20 today because I really wanted a black batting for this quilt. This is Aurifil 50 weight thread. It's an orange on top and a navy on the bottom. I cannot tell you the exact numbers off the top of my head, I am afraid. But we picked some nice bright colors. And this is actually one of 4 bright colors that I am using for these blocks. So I've gone all the way around this section. You can see I'm already getting some nice puff. Now I'm going to use this ruler to just make a V down to the point. But I'm using this 80/20 batting because I really wanted a black, but I did double bat it. So the batting is folded in half so that there's a double layer, so I still get a nice puffy effect, even though this particular 80/20, this is just continuous curve quilting, swooping from corner to corner around this cornerstone. Even though this particular 80/20 tends to be a little bit flatter than I like, I just compensated for that by doing a double bat. Now, as I mentioned, this is one of 4 thread colors that I will be using for these stars. I'm also using a green, an aqua, and a hot pink. Now, you'll see we've done one section of star and one cornerstone, and I'm at the same spot on this star section that I was over here. So now I'm just going to repeat that 3 more times all the way around this block. So that's how I'm able to get away with doing this and not breaking thread. Just repositioning my ruler each time. Some of these seams will be stitched twice, but it's just the easiest way to not have to break thread time and time again. And as I'm always seeking to improve my accuracy, if I'm retracing in the same spot, you can't hardly even tell. I love the bright colors of this Tula Pink Zuma, and I love that Lisa decided to set it against a nice black background. Just the contrast is right on the money. Now, I have chosen not to use a ruler table under here because of the way that it would inhibit how much of the block I could do at a time without having to roll the quilt. It does mean that I'm having to be a little bit of a daredevil when it comes to this corner-to-corner ruler work of making sure I hit those points, because it's not a level surface that I'm resting my ruler on in order to do it. Notice I set the ruler to the side to do these curves, and then I'm going in the ditch around the outside of the block. So by the time I'm done, this whole cornerstone will be stitched in the ditch, but without any kind of funky retracing. And again, brings me back to this magical starting point on my star section. Notice I'm taking my time to position that ruler. I want to make sure that it's lined up evenly, that I'm getting a good straight line as I go along. This kind of ruler work is tedious, but the effect is 100% worth it. And it gets easier with practice. The further I get into this quilt, the easier it will be. And just the more you use a ruler to stitch in the ditch, the easier it is as well. So these 4 colors I'm alternating. So every 4th block will have orange. Then, you know, starting from block number 2, every 4th block will have green, and so forth, so that it's all alternating. And it's just going to create a really fun effect on this quilt. And a little extra pizzazz of color. Not that it really needs it, but it's just always fun to be a little bit extra. Simple continuous curves. Hardest part of those is making sure you get a nice swoop. That actually can take more practice than it seems like it might. And a little bit more concentration than it sometimes seems like it ought. Now notice on that one I didn't actually stop before I moved my ruler. That's because I had really great visibility and a really great hand position. Here too, it's an easy swoop. But then at this point I'll stop to make sure that I'm repositioned nicely. All of this is just a matter of practice. As you're working on your long arm, make sure that you're standing up straight, tucking that tummy, drop your shoulders. It just really eases the strain on your body. And then I, of course, love to use my deep blue rub before and after quilting to help with discomfort and inflammation. Alright, so I've come back full circle. Now this is the one spot you're about to see where I'm actually going to stitch in the ditch both directions. So I want to complete this stitch in the ditch over here to where I started. But my next thing is I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch around the outside of this block so that this nice orange thread gets a little show off. And I'm going to use this ditch to hide my start so that I can still do this without breaking thread. So I'll simply retrace where I just stitched and very carefully staying right in that ditch, go just a little bit further out, and then begin working my way around. And then here at these corners where the corners meet, again, I'm going to use the ditch to tuck those stitches in so that where the blocks meet, we won't have too much thread showing. And of course, I'm going to be coming back in with black thread, and that will help as well. It's just a fun opportunity to really let this orange shine, add a little extra halo around this block so that when I come in and do that denser background quilting, this star shape continues to really own the show. I mean, the quilt is called Polaris, right? North Star, that big bright star that's so much easier to pick out than many of the others. We want to make sure that it stays at the center of the show here. Now, I'm trying to be reasonably accurate with how far away these lines of stitches are from the block itself, but I'm also not getting overly caught up with it. I'm keeping it pretty close to 1/4 inch. That's the goal. Tucking myself ever so carefully in that ditch. You can see the long arm is bumping a bit as it goes over some of those bumpy seams. That's part of why I'm just going to go real slow and easy. We're closing in on the finish line here, folks. Now, practice, of course, makes progress, makes this easier. This is my 5th or 6th block on this quilt, so I'm hitting a good rhythm with it, and it'll continue to get smoother as I go. If you are working on a Polaris quilt on the domestic, this would be great practice for ruler work on the domestic, since this is lots of different directions. But you could also stitch this with your walking foot really quite easily. Alright, and there I will pop up my bobbin thread and declare this puppy quilted.